Hey, have you heard about Anchor? You probably haven't heard about Anchor yet, so let me tell you about it. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. You probably hear other people talk about how they make podcasts. If they say it's easy, they're crazy. All of their methods are really hard and complicated, but Anchor, super simple. First off, it's free. They have creation tools that let you make the podcast right from your phone. You don't even need a computer. This is 2019. Who uses computers anymore? Anchor distributes your podcast on all the other platforms. No need to go do all that complicated searching and hosting and posting. Hosting and posting. They do it for you. You can also make money from your podcast. Well, that's what I'm doing right now, because you're listening to this ad. They've got everything you need to make a podcast in one spot. No need to search around all over the place. No need to go to 20 different sites. Just one. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Bet you thought I was going to sing right here, didn't you?
Are you looking for the hottest news out of the obstacle racing scene? Want to stay up to date on the freshest info, the latest podiums, and hear interviews with the who's who in OCR? Well, you've come to the wrong place. Well, some of that you'll find here. But we're not the media. This is not ORM, OCM, OCRM, ORCM. This is OCR Talk.
Going to go ahead and just jump right into it. My name is Jason Dupree.
And I'm Anna Landry.
And this is OCR Talk, episode 27, I believe. Let's catch up for a second. We got some things to talk about and share, and I know we've got some good topics to talk about in our notes today. You had a pretty crazy day today, huh?
It was the first day back at work after Mardi Gras, so I was thinking it was going to be really slow and boring, and it was really slow and boring, except for I'm on call, and usually that just means that they're going to kill us on call. So, as soon as we got out of work early, 15 minutes later, they were texting us back, we got some doctors that would like to work right now. I'm like, dang it.
So the doctors just say, hey, we got stuff that we want to do?
Oh, hey, sorry we didn't tell you this earlier, but we just saw this patient that we want to do right now. Okay. All right.
I just a few days ago got an email about the 30-miler that's coming up March 30th that it got canceled.
Oh, man, that's the second one of your races that's gotten canceled, huh?
Well, it got pushed back, and now it got officially canceled. They said that the rain has just been too consistent. Even though it's actually gotten a little drier, it just hasn't been enough to dry up that area because it's, right along a lake and just a really wet area, I guess. So they decided to go ahead and call it and offered full refunds if you wanted them, which is nice.
Well, that's nice.
You could transfer it to the next year, but I figured if I'm going to run it next year, then I can just re-sign up. No big deal.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and got a full refund so that I can... well, first thing was I was thinking, all right, well, so what am I going to do? April decided her birthday's the next weekend, so she wanted to go on a trip. So we found a pretty cool place. She really loves to do old history, especially not necessarily a plantation, but places like those big fancy houses that people had workers, not necessarily slaves, but
plantation style homes. Yeah,
they had nannies and
right.
people that cooked for them, and they paid them, I believe. But,
right.
But no, just really really old, those really fancy houses. And we've been to a couple. We went to one in Ireland while we were out there. That was really awesome, and she really loves that stuff. So nice. We're going to the Biltmore in North Carolina.
Ooh, I heard that place is amazing.
It looks like it from the pictures.
Yeah.
So she decided, let's go there, and that's the weekend of the race that got canceled. So I was like, all right, well, that was my race for March, so now I've got to find something new. It's kind of funny. There is a trail race this weekend that I was just going to look at doing for training, but she's got a thing on Saturday. So that didn't work out. So I started looking. I was like, oh, the San Antonio Spartan is happening.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, what was the dates? So I looked, and sure enough, it's the weekend before that other race was supposed to be. So it's the 23rd, 24th.
Yeah.
So I started looking into it, asking around for coupon codes and stuff. I actually had one in my email that said it was 20% off for my birthday. And I was like, all right, cool. I can use this one. And I found another one for 20% off. That was just like full on for anything. It was Athlinks 2019, for 20% off.
Nice. Doesn't Mud Run Guide have one out there that's like 50% off or something crazy like that? Yeah.
So that's what I found. So I was looking, and I was like 20%. That's decent, but by time when you look at the price, by time the fees and the insurance and everything else gets added on, that 20%, all it does is pays for all the insurance and fees.
Exactly.
It really don't do a lot.
And especially since they raise the cost of all their insurance and fees and all that.
Yeah, and the fact that the race is only a couple weeks out, which is rare that typically, my whole race schedule is planned out a year in advance almost. So I found that while looking for codes, and sure enough, it was definitely the way to go. Nice. It's one of those things where you purchase a code, and then you use that code when you register for the race, and you still have to pay a couple of the other fees when you register.
Right.
But that code is awesome because you can pick. It's a pass, not a I'm signing up for this race. It's a pass for a sprint or a super or a beast, or they even have them for ultra beast to get 50% off. Nice. So I'm real confused. Like, how do they even have this? Because it's not like a one-time use thing. It's like you can do this as many times as you want.
Oh wow!
It doesn't seem to have a expiration, or I don't know. It's crazy, but it worked. So
I thought it was only for like one super or one sprint.
Yeah, but you can buy as many codes as you want, as many passes as you want.
That's crazy.
Like, you're not limited on how many you can purchase. So I saw that, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try this and see how it comes out. Because with the 20% off discounts, the sprint was, for the age group, was 160, coming out to 167 after all the taxes. High. I was like, all right, well, it's high, but I figured it would be. The coupon code with taxes, or with, so when you first purchase the pass, it's about $97 for the pass with fees and everything. And then when you go register for the race, it's about $22 extra dollars. So it was 120 versus 167 for the sprint. Yeah. So that was awesome. And I was like, that's amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and sign up for the super too. So the super, strangely, was only 185-ish after fees and everything with the 20% discount. And then, so I was like, all right, sweet. It was kind of funny how it was like 175. It was real close to the sprint, which really confused me. So I went and used that thing again where I got a pass, and then used that to buy the race entry for age group. And it works for elite too, which blows my mind.
Yeah, because they hardly ever have discount codes that ever work for elite or age group.
Yeah. So again, it was with the 20% discount, it was going to be 175, and with the buy-in from Motor and Guide, it was 109, I think, plus the 22, so it was like 130. So for $250, I got two races that would have been $340.
Wow!
So I was pretty jacked about that. So I went ahead and found a little guest house to stay in. We were thinking about bringing the whole family down, but April had a baby shower that weekend, so I'm pretty pumped though. I've been doing all this training, and really not as good of training as I should have been doing or wanted to do, mainly because of all the travel and just life. But expecting to do these really long runs, but now I get to go and do some obstacles, so that's fun.
Very good. Yeah, I feel like it's been forever since I've done an obstacle race, and my first one really. I want to say my first one really isn't until May.
Which one?
Tough Mudder.
Austin? Oh, Tough Mudder. And are you not going to Austin?
College Station. No, I'm not going to Austin. I think that falls on my call weekend, I think. When is that one? In April or something?
Early May? It's either late April or early May.
But yeah, it just the timing of it just didn't work out for me this year. So it's like the first year in probably 4 years that I missed the Austin race. So kind of sad about
It's
that.
mid-May, actually. That's right. The Tough Mudder is early May,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like 2 weeks later.
Right. Yeah. So the timing on that one, it just fell on my call weekend, and I've already switched with a lot of people.
Hmm. I've had a couple of interesting runs this week where I felt good, I went out and ran, but like my lungs have been feeling good. I've been feeling more energetic, and I actually started, as I told you before, I started taking Perform Elite in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I've never been a huge coffee drinker, anyways, and I've always taken Perform Elite like midday. I started taking Perform Elite like midday to get me through a workout, and then even when I don't work out, to get me through that afternoon lull
Yeah.
that typically happens for me. But I've like just said, let me just go ahead and take it in the morning, because sometimes in the morning I get a lull too.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but sometimes. So I said, let me just go ahead and take it in the morning and see how it goes. And the past couple of days, or it's only Wednesday, but the past 3 days, it's been great. Like it's lasted all the way into the evening of me. Like I've never hit a lull today I actually did get sleepy and took a nap, but when I got up, I felt good. I never felt lethargic or groggy or anything like that. So I'm going to keep doing that and see how it goes.
I like my naps.
Well, I do too. And like I
No,
said,
yeah, we joke about
I
that
had
at
one
work.
today.
Yeah, we joke about that at work, but my day starts so stinking early. Like, if I work out in the morning, I'm waking up at 3:30 in the morning and taking my Perform Elite then. And then, so
Yeah.
like by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, whenever I get home from work, I'm like, oh, it's nap time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've already like done an hour workout or whatever, and then gone to work, and then come home and got the kids from school and did homework or something like that. And so it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's nap time around that time of day. But no, I didn't take it this morning. I've been actually working with Miles. He's been writing some workouts for me.
Nice.
He and Victor.
Miles Keller?
Yeah, he and Victor had started their Victory Fitness
Oh,
deal. And so yeah, I kind of just wanted to try something different. Like I did Yancey Camp workouts, and those were all great, and I just wanted to mix it up a little bit. And I think like me not being able to run kind of forced me to find something different and find new things to work on. So that kind of like put me out of my usual routine of, oh, I'm just going to go run 3 or 4 miles, before work, and then run 3 or 4 miles after work, like. So yeah, it's been so far so good. Today is the only day that I've missed my workout because of work. It just I had gotten off work early and came home and mixed up some Perform Elite to take to the track with me, and I was heading to the track, took a few swings in my Perform Elite, and that's whenever they called us back into work. So that's whenever I told you about I was sitting at work and I was like getting the face itches and getting the tingles and everything. I'm like, oh man. But I mean, we were super efficient.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, so if I take the Perform Elite too early in the morning, it wears off by too early by the end of the day.
Matt Mossman says that he drinks it in the morning. Like that's his normal. Like he's not a coffee drinker either.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He drinks his special blend of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. I kind of got a little worried because I started drinking coffee again here recently. I used to not. I just whenever I switched to day shift a couple years back, I just stopped drinking coffee, which is weird because I don't know. I guess on night shift we just drank so much more coffee. I had stopped drinking coffee for a long time, and I started back again just cuz I don't know, it's like it's weird here cuz it's here in Louisiana it's like a social thing, you get to work and you
Yeah.
fix yourself a cup of coffee and you chit chat with your coworker, and it's been unseasonably cold. So it's almost like just kind of comforting just to have a hot cup of coffee the first thing in the morning. So yeah, I was kind of interested to see how the Perform Elite would still have if it would still have the same effect on me. And so far it has. I mean, I've been limiting my coffee to just, the 1 cup a day. It's not every day. So
Before we get into our episode notes, we on a couple of cool things that's been going on the Discord. One, some people from Terrain Race have gotten in there and actually been like, "Hey, we're whoever from Terrain Race. We're really looking forward to hearing y'all's feedback, and really want to be honest and let you know what we're doing, and you have that conversation." So it was really awesome. And straight out the box, we were pretty, here's how we feel, and and I would not let go of the $5, pay $5 to pick up your bib thing. So I don't know where that's going to go, but I've tried to point out, like, it wasn't even consistent from what we've heard, that some people either just said they weren't going to pay it, so they weren't pushed to pay it, and so many things about it that are just ridiculous. And I mean, I use the word insane. I told them it sounds insane to be asked $5 to grab a piece of paper that I've done a trail race. Last trail race I did, it was in a bin and you went and grabbed it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, their reasoning behind it being, or at least what they've stated, is being to help shorten the line at registration. It's free if you pick it up the day before at whatever place they have them out at. So if that's really the case, if it's about money, then just take those people and put them on the day of the race.
Right.
But if it's really about shortening the line, there's got to be better ways to do it.
Yeah.
There are a bazillion other races that do the exact same thing, and they don't have that problem. And if the line gets a little long, oh well, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Imagine you have 2,000 people. They're doing these free weekends, right? Mm-hmm. So they're getting, and they're saying they're full. And a full OCR weekend is what, 5,000 to 7,000 people, maybe 10.
Yeah.
So let's just say 7,000 people register, 5,000 show up, 3,000 don't pick up their bib the day before. That's $5 a person. That's $15,000. Like, you can't say it's not for the money. You can't try and tell me that you're not doing it for the money when you might make $15,000 off of it, off of what was supposed to be a free race.
Right.
So anyway, we've been hitting that pretty hard on them, and Matt B. Davis is going to be at their race, I think, next weekend or this weekend, and he's supposed to sit down with, I think, their CEO and chat with them. So that'll be interesting, and hopefully we'll get some clarification, and hopefully Matt doesn't shy away from that topic.
I doubt he will. He shot pretty straight whenever he was talking to Tough Mudder's new president,
which we'll get into.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we're talking about on there that was interesting is Free Solo. Have you heard about this movie?
Free Solo?
It's a documentary.
Oh, no. I've heard about it. I haven't seen it.
Just water tonight. You missed me last night. I had a few drinks last night.
So did I.
Dang it. Would have been a perfect episode. Speaking of which, I'm going to go off tangent here for a second. That episode is the first episode out of all of ours to pass up our very first episode in number of listens.
Nice.
I just checked it earlier, and our first episode is at 439 or so listens, and every other episode has always been just kind of like, I think Toughest South was the closest one for a long time, and it was always just a few behind.
Yeah.
This one has passed it up and is at like 445 or something like that. The 2-hour-long episode where we just didn't, we thought it was a mess when we were recording it, but it turned out to be possibly one of our best episodes.
Yeah.
So maybe the word got out about that when people are like, dude, you got to go listen to this retardedness. So that probably definitely has to happen again.
More than likely it will. Oh, this is the documentary about the rock climbers, right?
Yes. So, well, the rock climber, this guy who is apparently it's called free climbing, or I guess just free climbing when you're climbing
no rope
you're climbing without a rope, but you're still harnessed in. So you're not climbing with a rope that's going all the way to the top. So you might have two people that are together so that one person can climb up, and then the other person, you're still anchored to the other person, or Yeah, I think that's how it works. So you're still anchored into the other person. So when you're climbing, you could fall from that, but you're not going to fall to your death, unless you hit a rock bad or something. So these two guys, I blank on the guy's name.
Alex Honnold.
Alex Honnold. Yeah, Alex Honnold. Him and one of his buddies, they did El Capitan in Yosemite in under 2 hours, I think it was, free climbing. So they're, doing it together. So they're trying to go as fast as they can. I think he said at one point his buddy did fall like 100 feet from, just where he was. And it was a straight shot down. So he, the rope caught him and he was good. But yeah, they beat the record in free climbing and did it in under 2 hours. And he did it free solo, which means you're up there by yourself, no ropes or anything. Like it's just you and your little thing of chalk, and that's it. So the documentary is about that, and shows the climb, and he did it in under 4 hours, which a lot of experience. They were saying a lot of experienced people that climb this thing, it takes them three days to do it, and he did it with nothing. So I've been watching. I haven't watched the movie yet. I wanted to go catch it while it was in theaters here in Frisco, but I wasn't able to see it tonight or tomorrow, and it's not showing this weekend. So I think I'm just going to be able to just have to watch it online or something. But watching the trailers for it and watching stuff about it, like seeing them talk, I've been watching tons of interviews and stuff, and it's insane. Seeing some of the holds, you think of those little bitty tiny holds that you see on the rock walls in the gym that are like 10, I don't know what the ratings are, but they're 10 something, and it's just like a little bit of nub for you to put your two fingers on. And I mean, he's climbing stuff like that. It's just insane, the stuff that he's doing. If you like good documentaries with gorgeous cinematography and you care anything about climbing, then check it out for sure, because it looks amazing, and everybody that's watched it said it's amazing. And everybody's saying that, you're watching it and your palms get sweaty and you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time while he's climbing, because it's just, obviously he makes it, but it's still, you still get that experience.
Distressing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking at this picture. I was Googling it. I'm looking at this picture of him like climbing up like just a big crack in the wall. That's so crazy.
Yeah, so nuts. So nuts. So I'll be watching that soon.
Speaking of documentaries, I watched one last night. I think he's a Honey Stinger ambassador, I believe. I don't know, but he's in one of the episodes. It's a Netflix documentary called Losers. I don't know if you've heard of it, and I don't know if you've seen any episodes, but it's just about athletes in different sports and how maybe they found some success, but then weren't quite able to make it all the way to like a championship or something like that, something of that sort. Yeah. And
I have heard about
that.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good documentary, and it just like, interviews the athletes and how they saw the experience from their perspective. Because, you always hear about, oh, this guy was the first person to do this and he revolutionized the sport and blah, blah, blah. But then you never hear about, the people that they were playing against or, their competition. So it kind of shows it from their perspective. And so it's kind of interesting to listen to their interviews. But this one episode that I watched last night just caught my eye because it was about this guy running an ultra marathon, and he was doing the Marathon des Sables. It's the ultra marathon that runs across the Sahara Desert. He basically went and ran this race against the wishes of his wife, who he had 3 kids with, and he knew she wasn't happy about it, but he went anyway. And then he ends up getting lost in a sandstorm for 9 days in the desert, and
God.
like has to drink his own urine and eat bats, and it's just a crazy story.
Where did he find bats?
He came across this old building, and it wasn't any special kind of building. It just had a sarcophagus in it. Apparently it was where some holy man was buried. So he went inside and he heard these little noises, and he thought they were rats, but then he looked around the building and he realized they were actually bats hanging from Wow. And so at this point he had gone like 5 days without food or water. So he said he just started grabbing bats and like started eating them. And I was like, I was so
Oh, man.
disgusted whenever he was talking about it, because he gets so like graphic. and and I was like, oh my gosh. But he was like, man, it was like such a primal instinct for me to, just grab something and eat it because I'm trying to survive.
Yeah, because that's just how hungry he was. Yeah.
They ended up even calling off the search for him. And this was like in the 90s, I think. So he was presumed dead, and he just happened to wander off into Algeria and and he happened to wander onto like some military base, and they found him, and he ended up, obviously because they're interviewing him, but he ended up surviving that experience. But yeah, he ended up going back to that same race like 6 times.
Did he ever complete it?
Yeah, he completed it, but they the little notes at the end of the episode said that his goal was to always finish in the top 10 the first year that he went, and I think he was on pace to do that first year, before he got lost, obviously. But he went back the 6 times, and I don't think he ever finished higher than 12th.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah,
sure.
it's a pretty cool series. And they go into all kinds of different sports. Like they have an episode on curling. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. So check it out.
Yeah, for sure. Before we move on, since we've already talked about terrain for a little bit, have you seen their Instagram page?
No, but whenever I saw it in the notes, I had to go look for myself. Because
did you catch what I was talking about? Like what I was getting at?
No, not yet, because I got sidetracked. I was like,
okay.
Yeah, it's social media distracts me too much.
I don't have my phone on me. If you look at their stories, it's like 10,000 stories. Also, go look at Ryan Atkins's latest post.
I did see that one.
Funny things. All right, terrain racing, going to their stories. Oh, they stopped doing it. Well, it's not. I forget. Stupid stories don't last but 24 hours.
Yeah.
Right after the race, like the next week after they had a race, it was every single person that posted and tagged them, they reshared it.
Oh my gosh.
So it was literally like you see the little lines across the top of how many stories it is, and it
dots.
was. Oh yeah. So whoever is handling Terrain's social media has, I mean, maybe they're taking Perform Elite because they are on it. But yeah, it was insane to see. So they're doing something over there.
Instagram.
I don't know what it is, but they're doing something.
Wild.
Let's see. We also talked about Tough Mudder already a little bit. Yeah, let's talk about Tough Mudder real quick while we're covering things that have already come up. Matt B. Davis. Well, first off, Will Dean he's definitely not the president.
No.
Because now there's some other guy that's the president.
He's allegedly being bought out or forced out or whatever. Allegedly.
None of that has been stated of what the fact is. But the what is the fact, and what we caught from Matt B. Davis's interview with him, is that the races, Tough Mudder races and Tough Mudder Boot Camp, are still one company. They haven't split apart to be a separate company. They were trying to go that route to see if they can get another company to take that over, but it didn't work out the way they wanted. So as of now, they're both still one company. But Will Dean is not the president anymore. But here's the thing. There's allegations against him. There's lawsuits. There's just so much up in the air right now. We don't really know what it is. But, and this is one thing that's really kind of sad, is my natural reaction is to think, well, this guy is sleazy.
Yeah.
And we've been kind of like following him all this time, doing World's Toughest and hearing him talk and get on stage and talk about how the community and what it is, and that's what the company's about. But then when you hear about the possibility of the fact that the possibility of him stealing stuff from Mr. Mouse, and like, did you read the article that talked about how he gave Mr. Mouse one business plan, but he gave his school a different business plan, and I don't know I don't know any of that for a fact, because all that is just an article.
The only people that know about that are the people that were involved, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, and so it's hard to not react to it, and so I'm going to leave that part there. But what I do want to say is it's an interesting dichotomy of, if he is a sleazy person, the fact that he was able to make a business off of this good-natured group of people and the idea of being good to each other. Like, if that is the case, like, how crazy is it that this amazing thing has come out of this guy's greediness, you know?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking as well, because Tough Mudder has been a thing now for several years. It's definitely one of the more established names in the sport and in the business. So you start building up this community of people, and it's just, no matter where it's come from, or, whose business plan it was, or whose idea it was, or, how they were going to monetize this idea, no matter any of that, it's kind of just the community has just kind of taken a life of its own and turned into its own, like, self-sustaining thing. This is our community. This is what we stand for, and we're going to stick to that. All other business plans aside, the community has just kind of become its own separate entity, kind of defined itself based on the values and ideas of what Tough Mudder was built on, but we've just built our own community around it.
Whether Will Dean believes what he's selling or not, what he's selling is a good thing. Whereas, like, Herbalife, what they're selling, while it sounds good, it's not a good thing.
Shots fired.
Did we talk about Herbalife before?
I don't think so, but
I feel like I've brought it up before because I watched this documentary about
it.
I've watched a documentary about it, and they have an office right next to our office in Houston. So I see these people every day, and it makes me, like, I was sad before I saw the documentary, and after I saw it, I wanted to go out there and just tell them, get out of here, stop coming to this place and giving these people your money. Well, how about the new president, though? Like, he seems like an alright guy.
He's very convincing. I remember thinking that whenever I was listening to that episode.
But as a president, how do you get to be there? What has he done to become the president?
The guy?
Yeah. Is he just a guy to, like, a placeholder? Or does he really have the leadership in the direction to be president?
Who knows?
I guess that's something that you can ask of the presidents of the United States every time as well.
I think that's something completely different, but
but no, it seeing the interview with them, I'm not trying to say that the guy looks like he's not doing a good job or anything. I mean, I haven't seen anything of it. He just, from the interview, it just seemed like a PR thing. Like, he's got all the messaging down, but I don't know. I mean, I guess Tough Mudder's kind of up in the air right now. Like, we got to wait to see if they're actually doing all the things that they're saying they're going to do. And we're hoping that they do. It just, I don't know. It's just a weird situation with Will Dean not being that anymore. And then another guy we've never heard of. I mean, obviously people know him, but seemingly come out of nowhere. It just feels weird. I hope it's good. But it didn't give me like the, oh yeah, this is great feeling. I don't know.
I like that he was optimistic about it. He did have a very good answer for all of Matt's questions.
They seemed like they were too good, though, and too polished. That's the thing, is, like, it was almost too PR, maybe.
Possibly.
But the thing that I did like that he said at the very end was, like, come up to me after a race, talk to me. I want to get on course and run with people. Like, he definitely had an attitude of, we're gonna right this ship and we're gonna be open about it. I guess the rest of the interview just made me feel odd. I'm just trying to dig into it too much, I guess. We need to let's just start being OCR detectives. Like we'll just stop. We're not out
was
here
your
to go trash
motive?
talk people. But yes, we're gonna dig deep, and we're gonna get not dirt, but we're gonna find out the truth. That's what we want. Make a logo with a magnifying glass.
I did like all of the questions that Matt asked, though. I don't think that he shied away from any questions. I feel like he asked some questions that maybe we didn't think he would ask.
Yeah.
So I think he was thorough. I mean, I think the whole situation just has everybody worried about, okay, what's the future of this company, and further, what's the future of, what does that mean for the future of the sport? And, I think they're trying to redefine themselves, and I mean, maybe they are trying to go back to their roots, but I don't know. I feel like it's still just they're trying to recoup their losses from having so many, not brands, but different kinds of events out there last year. Because I remember whenever they came out with the half and the full and the 5K and I felt like that was a lot all at once.
It was a lot.
And I felt like, if you wanted to introduce a new format, maybe do it in certain markets and see how it does first. Not, hey, let's take all of our ideas and let's release them all at once. And oh, we're gonna offer cash prizes for each of those. And I think that's a lot.
Well, if anything, they stepped out on a limb when it comes to business. That kind of thing can pay huge rewards if it works out. You just never know, and that's the
Yeah.
thing is they tried it and it
I
didn't
think
work.
maybe they were
So
banking on the idea that they are a very well-known brand at this point, and so people are just going to buy into whatever they're selling.
speaking of buying into whatever you're selling, Savage Race has got new obstacles this year, as they do every year. They have 3 new obstacles, and one's called Piece of Queso. It has, we're just going to run through what these have on them real quick. It is a small piece of hanging sheet to a board. Like you kind of see these boards in, I can't say I've seen them in like a ninja gym, but I've definitely seen them in the ninja portion of an urban air, like a trampoline park.
I was going to say they remind me of the little mini ninja course at Sky Zone over here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a plasticky board with some holes in it, so it kind of looks like a slice of Swiss cheese. So you're traversing across those and hanging sheets. So that's interesting. The inversion therapy is just like a low rig, so you're kind of just hanging from stuff with ladders and maybe a pole or something. Chopsticks looks really cool though. It is kind of like the reverse of Lagaff.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a pendulum that's swinging from a pole on a pendulum swinging from the ground, they're actually hanging pendulums. So you got a place to put your feet, and the board swings one way or another. So 2 boards swing side to side, and the other two swing front to back, and you have to traverse across those. So it doesn't look like anything crazy hard, but it does look fun. Now, the cool thing that they've done with these is that Sam Abbott, one of the creators of Savage Race, you look at him and he's not the fittest guy, but he does run these races, and he's even said himself that he has never completed Sawtooth. Like that's his thing. Is like he wants to do that this year. That's what he's going after. But when doing these videos in the past, they've done some videos with Maddie Gregg, Maddie B. What was his name? And they did some fun videos with those, but this year they just simply did, hey, let's go out and we got our other guy who's good at obstacles. Let's get him to show us how to do it. And then Sam tried each one. And so you actually got to see the owner of the company doing the obstacles, which was really neat. Cool. And then I saw on race day a video of him actually doing Piece of Queso and getting through it all the way. Like he didn't do it when they tried ahead of time, but he conquered it after, which was pretty rad. Speaking of conquering, we just watched. Is that dog snoring?
Fucking snoring.
We just watched the second episode of Titan Games that Christiana is in. It's the one where all the previous Titan winners come together and do just the obstacle, just the challenges. They don't do any they don't do the course yet, the Mount Olympus. And she did one, the big giant pillars, and you have to swing the big ball in a circle to knock them over. And I want to say she got behind, like she was ahead at first, and then the other girl got ahead of her, got like 2 knocked down, and she had only 1, I forget. But she came back and got them all before the other girl did. It was pretty awesome.
That was an awesome one.
Very close.
That was a close one too. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, they showed some more of her story, and they showed her on Smooth Criminal from Conquer Gauntlet.
From that same Tulsa race.
Some more Conquer Gauntlet getting on TV. Pretty rad.
I finally signed up for Continuum, so I'll be coming to Dallas in June.
Oh, nice. Right on. It's going to be hot.
So
we're going to die.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to be like, did Sid put this race on?
Yeah, really. Oh man, that's going to be terrible. I didn't think that one through.
They do have, several water obstacles though, so that's good.
That's true.
Or are they
getting
better?
Nice and tan.
At least it's only 6 hours though instead of 8.
Yeah, true.
Here's another interesting thing that came out is Toughest in Europe. Not Tough Mudder Toughest, but Toughest, the race.
Toughest.
They have previously had, they have on their obstacles, they'll have a fast lane and a regular lane. And if you take the fast lane and you pass it, you can bypass the very next obstacle, which is usually right after it. And it might be like a low crawl or an over-under thing. And if you do the regular lane, then you have to do the crawl or whatever. If you fail regular lane, you can retry. Or you can just give up and take the penalty loop. If you fail the fast lane, you have to take the penalty loop. So that's why they've done it for years. So very interesting dynamic of which lane do you choose, and you got these people going out on penalty runs, and very, very unique race format, doing a little bit of, some things that other races are doing, some things that nobody's doing. They've changed it this year to where they're doing mandatory obstacle completion. They're still going to have the choices, I think, and the penalty loops for the open waves, but for the elites and the elite qualifiers, it's going to be strictly mandatory. And I don't know what they're planning on, if they're going to have still 2 lanes. Like, are they going to have regular and fast lane? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, but from what I read, how I understood it is that they're still going to have, it's like they're going to have like the elite lane. And that's the lane that if you're an elite or an elite qualifier, that's the lane that you have to complete. And then for the open waivers, they're the ones that have the choice, how it was originally. But for the elite and elite qualifiers, you have to do the fast lane. And if you can't complete it, then it's mandatory obstacle completion. So
yeah, that's going to be interesting. It's it's a big change from going from having a penalty loop to not at all.
Yeah, I liked their idea of having like the different difficulty in lanes. I liked their idea, but since this recent change, it does make a lot more sense to change that for the people that are competing at the elite level, because it just makes it a lot easier to judge and to make calls, because you have hundreds of people going through obstacles, and you have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people at an obstacle. How are you supposed to keep straight who did what, which lane they were on, if they had to do this penalty loop, or if they have to go back and complete the opposite and retry it? It just seems like a lot for the people watching the obstacles, or the course marshals,
I get what
guess.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But one thing that is cool about Toughest, and really they've kind of, I don't want to say led the way, because nobody's really taken after them as much, but the things that they do that are so unique to their race that really stands out, one simply being that to race elite, you have to qualify to be an elite qualifier. So kind of think a competitive wave. You have to either run a 10K, be able to run a 10K in under 40 minutes, or you have to be top 50 in, I think, like world championships or something, European world championships. There's a few different ways you can be an elite qualifier. But then in the elite qualifier, you have to run a season and get enough points, be high enough in the rankings to be part of the elite group, to be invited to be part of the elite group.
Yeah,
So
'cause
they keep the elite.
So it's not just something like a wave, like in Spartan.
Exactly.
You can't just sign up for it.
Yeah, it's not like we've got this many spots and anybody can sign up. I mean, Spartan's changing that now too,
Yeah.
but they've always been like that, to where I don't know how far back they go, but you have to qualify, and their waves are small. Like, they're elite guys. It's, I don't know, maybe 20 guys. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's not very large at all.
Yeah, and so it is a very small group of people, and it's like, it's what you would think of whenever you think of an elite competitor.
Yeah,
Like, you have to be invited
for sure.
to this wave or something, like you have to prove yourself in order to be able to compete in that wave, which makes sense.
Yeah, which makes Spartan get into that finally now. It is really cool, and it is nice to see. And while you get opposition from both sides, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have
Spartan's also doing
the
it
true elites
at their series races, right? Like, so their U.S. Championship Series, if you want to compete elite, then you have to qualify to be able to compete elite. They're not doing it for, if you want to go do a sprint in Kentucky or something like that,
because they would never hold a national series race there.
Well, you never know, but
poor Kentucky.
I never thought that Alabama would be a national championship series race, but here we are.
Wait, the one
coming up, in a couple weeks, Saraland.
The one in Saraland? Wow.
It's a U.S. national.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's a national championship series race, which is, I like that, because for the U.S. national, whatever they're calling it, Spartan U.S. National Championship Series, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. You know what I'm getting at. It does take a little bit from each region. So, like, they kind of started off in the South and they're going to move their way west. So it kind of takes a little bit of different terrain from each region. So it's not just like,
yeah, that is cool,
all on the Midwest and the West Coast, or up in Vermont or something. It's not just those races. So I kind of like the way they plan that out, and I just like the fact that they have Alabama on their schedule again. I know that was a really popular race with everybody down here. So
how many years has that race not been going? Has it just been one?
Yeah,
or
I
two?
think because of contracts or something, from what I heard, at least that was like the rumor going around the rumor mill, was the last couple years they didn't have the Alabama race because of some contracts with the venue. But that wasn't the case this year, so they're back.
Yeah, that's cool. When I first started, there was a race down just on the other side of the Mississippi state line from Louisiana. So that one was pretty close. And of course, Alabama was the next closest. And then they stopped having the one in Mississippi. Yeah. So it was cool that Alabama was still there, but then that one got canceled. And so that's cool to see that they're back.
Yeah, it was a pretty good venue. It's going to be muddy for sure. The year that I went to Alabama, though, it had been raining, I think, and then it dried up really fast, and it was really windy that day, so it was just a huge dust bowl. It was terrible.
I must have been at that one, because wasn't that the one? It's a super, but it was like 12 miles. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I think. It was around 12 miles. Possibly. I think
that was way longer than it should have been.
Yeah, but that was a really fun venue. It was super muddy though. Oh my gosh, it was terrible.
Well, Spartan wise, Spartan has had the biggest news of everybody lately, and we kind of missed it. We're talking about it on the tail end, and everybody else has already covered it. So just a quick recap. Ryan Woods got DQ'd in Jacksonville. He touched the metal on the A-frame at the very end of the race while racing right next to Ryan Atkins. And after the race is over, they freaking DQ'd him. Like, you're out. So tons and tons of people, of course, the chatter was, insane about this, stating that the rules don't specify if you fail the obstacle that you're disqualified and that you can't do burpees. Like, it's a multiple try obstacle. How are you going to not tell the guy to go back and do it and just say he's disqualified? So many crazy things that they came back and they said, okay, we're gonna look at this again. They agreed with everybody and they gave him a lesser
Yeah,
penalty, 5-minute
5
penalty,
minutes.
which put him back down to about 12th place, I believe. And same thing happened to Hunter Russell as well. The best thing about this is that they're now going to be changing the wordage, the verbiage in those rules, and hopefully other rules as well. And here's my thought, and the reason why I still want to talk about this is just simply, if you're going to have a rule that says that this obstacle has to be as specific as we say it is, then you need to have somebody there that is enforcing that. You can't say you can't touch this thing and then not have anybody there saying, hey, you touched it, you have to do burpees. Because when it's that minuscule or that insignificant of a, if you fall off of something, that's easy to be like, oh, I fell off. Obviously, I failed. But if you brush your elbow against the freaking truss, you can't, you're not going to stop and say, maybe I should not keep going. Like in football, you play until they blow the whistle. You don't stop just because you think you did something wrong. And if you want to win, that's how you have to be. You have to have that mindset of you're always going for it. So you've got to have marshals there telling them what to do if they failed or touched something they should have touched.
And it's just one of those obstacles that you just never think about. I mean, it's an A-frame cargo. I mean, really? If they're going to make that big a deal about it, how about make those areas that we're not supposed to touch, like, inaccessible to everybody? Because,
don't put it right where you can go.
And I mean, it says you can't touch part of the trusses. Well, at the very top of the A-frame, it's nearly impossible not to touch it. Like, what are you really, like, how are you defining
That's the thing
this?
about the rules. They're too ambiguous.
It's like, how are you defining, I'm using the truss to gain advantage on my competitor? Like, is it really that big of an advantage? I don't think so.
So the rules either, like, if you're not going to have marshals there, the rules need to be clear and easy, not something that you need somebody there with a magnifying glass to make sure that
they
you
can't
get
be
it right.
open to interpretation, because that's whenever you'll have disasters like this.
Yeah. And another interesting thing is this is only happening because Spartan is putting out so much money.
Right.
Races like Conquer the Gauntlet, they've got don't grab the chain above the holds on their rigs and things like that. And if that stuff gets caught, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, it's not, nobody's crying because they're not getting that $200 that they should get for first place or whatever it is. Like, it really is the sheer amount of money that's turning this into such a serious thing.
That, and I think they're, with their whole movement of trying to turn it into a sport that can be officiated and taken seriously.
Yeah, the more competition you get, the more serious those rules get.
Yeah, which is why there has to be clear-cut rules that, again, aren't open to interpretation. And I mean, if it's a retry obstacle, don't catch it after the fact and say you're disqualified.
Yeah.
Like,
it's baloney.
They should have told him to just redo it.
Even if somebody would have caught him after the finish line and said, hey, go back. But no, nobody caught it until somebody pointed it out or they saw it on video or whatever.
Well, and it's like, to use your football analogy again, it's like as soon as that next play is going and the referee missed a call, sorry. That's it. You missed your chance. Like, sorry for you.
Yeah, in football, you can't go back 5 plays.
You can't be like, but readjust. 5 minutes earlier in the game, you know how much? The Saints would have gone to the Super Bowl.
Talking about how the more competitive it gets and how more specific those rules need to be. Either they need to be easy to understand and not simply failable. Like, it needs to be clear cut and not something ridiculous like touching a thing. It makes me think about, I mentioned before that I played adult league kickball. Even in a fun adult kickball league where people are drinking and having a good time, the rule book on that stuff was ridiculous. Like, to be a captain or to be a umpire, you had to know those rules really well. And people would still get heated about the rules, and it says this and it means that, and like just go crazy about it. So I know, and that's in a drinking league of kickball, so you can imagine how serious it's got to be up in these top levels of competitive,
when
eliteness.
there's like $2 million at stake.
Now, Spartan does have their 200-person pro team. I thought it was really interesting that they did that this year, and maybe it's a move to be an actual league, because in OCR so far, we've had companies create their own pro team, and then they race their own races. And it seems kind of funny. It's like, we've got the best people. It's not as much of our people are going to go to your race and try to beat your race people. That would be cool too. But it's not been that as much. Yeah. It's been more of a, we've got our people who dominate our races. And it's like, well, that's kind of weird. But when you think of how a company like WWE or UFC, they are a league without teams. They're a league with people who are their participants.
And competitors.
And those people, their competitors get paid to do that. And so I
compete against each other.
Yeah, to compete against each other. So I think that's what this is like. It's like that more than it is like the NFL or basketball. So if there was a central league that the Spartan people and the Conquer the Gauntlet people and the Tough Mudder people, that they all went to and competed against each other, then it would be more akin to NFL or basketball. But this is more like wrestling and MMA, I think. So if Spartan keeps this up with a large roster, then you could see it where people have got contracts where you can own, you want to be in our race, you're signed in. Like, this is all you get to do, and you're our racer. We'll see how that goes, but that's kind of where it's leading. I think.
And it'll be interesting to see how their pro team kind of evolves over the course of time.
Yeah, and right now it's kind of drawing the people in simply based off of the money that they're dishing out. So people like Ryan Atkins and Lindsey Webster, who were on Tough Mudder Pro Team, Tough Mudder's no longer dishing out money. Spartan's dishing it all out, and they've got a pretty good setup. So now they're back on their team. Eventually, it'll be like Spartan's big enough that they can say, you've really got to. I mean, they've got the qualifications already, so I guess. Now, with this 200-person pro team, they have a male and a female ambassador who talks to the Spartan heads and is the liaison for the pro team
athlete
to
liaison.
Spartan. Yeah. And on the female side, you've got Amelia Boone. Cool. She seems level-headed enough. She's a lawyer. She's cool. She's nice. And then for the guys, you've got Kevin Gialotti. Pretty sure we've talked about Kevin Gialotti before.
How do you feel about that, Jason? How does that make you feel? Let me put on my Mike Stefano hat and put on my How does that make you feel?
Well, the very first race, U.S. National Series race of the year, he got on and chatted in the booth while the race was going on the live stream. And while they were talking about this, he said at least 5 times about why he's the person for this job, because he's got 30 years racing experience and he can talk. He knows what's best for the athletes. He knows what's best for the league or the series. He said it about 5 times within the span of 10 minutes. The dude, I would like to say he's a good athlete, but I've got some information that says maybe not even that, which I might say in a second. Because I find it very interesting. The guy looks very fit. I've seen him race. I think he's pretty good. Dude talks about himself way too much. Like, he seems super cocky and can't help but just talk about how great he is. Some people are very talkative. I get that. Personally, I did not enjoy listening to him talk. So him being an announcer, he talks over other people and talks about himself a lot instead of about what's going on. So I don't care for it, personally. I heard that somebody said that they beat him at the 3K in NORAM this past year. So I was curious, like, well, okay, what was his time? So I went and looked, and his time, I'm going to talk about myself for a second and brag. My time was about 27 minutes, which the pros were around 16 or so. So it was not bad, like twice as much as them in a short course. I felt pretty good about it. It didn't feel anything. He apparently couldn't get past the last rig, and it took him about 47 minutes to get through. And I'm not 100% sure if he finished with his band or not. Maybe he did. Apparently, when he was getting really pissed off at the rig and was cursing and stuff. But that rig was not that hard.
What was that last rig?
Like, I'm not a pro. I know I got decent grip, but still, like, I'm not any level of any of those guys that are running elite. And that's another thing. For as good as he says he is, I think he ran age group too. I don't know. I'll stop talking about him. I'm sorry, Kevin. I just don't like you being an announcer. That's all.
Nothing personal though.
Maybe he'll meet me and change my mind. Maybe he won't. Maybe I'll feel even more so that way. It's tough to talk truth without sounding like an a-hole.
No,
right?
That's very true. Yeah.
I'm not trying to talk trash. I'm not being like Hunter and be like, let's talk trash. This person sucks.
That's your opinion about it, and you're completely entitled to your own opinion. And
Thanks.
if people want to get offended by it, then that's their choice to get offended by it.
Kevin, he can be offended by it, and that's okay. Everybody else has no reason to be offended. But sure, I'd love to hear other people's opinions about him, see if they, maybe somebody's met him in person and was like, he's really down to earth and super cool.
Yeah. And I mean, really, honestly, everybody's going to have their own opinions about something. And no matter what it is or how passionately you feel for or against it, you have the choice to consciously make that decision, whether or not you're going to get offended and take it personally and let it eat at you.
But back to why I even talked about how I feel about him. The guy is the ambassador for the Spartan Pro Team. So my thoughts on that is that he's undeserving of that. And I don't think that I'm the only one that feels that way. It'll be really interesting to see what happens there. Will that change?
Yeah, I think those roles definitely have to change.
At some point, just like any high level role, it should. But maybe it'll change sooner rather than later. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's not like who appointed this person. We don't even know how they got the gig.
Exactly. It's like somebody at Spartan higher ups just said, okay, you're this person. You're going to speak for all these athletes.
My understanding from the way Kevin talks about himself is that he appointed himself. Probably.
He volunteered as tribute for the position.
He probably talked about it so much, like, I'm the best person for this job, that somebody's like, fine, stop, just, you got it, just leave me alone. Moving on to another, trying to make a good segue here. Speaking of loud personalities, mentioning Hunter. Hunter is no longer doing the Obstacle Dominator podcast. Have you listened to any of the new episodes yet?
I have not, no. But Hunter's been a pretty busy guy these days.
Yeah, apparently he's just got so much going on. And it's funny to hear, the episodes that they've had. They've had quite a few of them lately where he was trying to get on from his phone and it would die on him. And it's been fairly comical. But nonetheless, Benny has got Bracken Cracker on as a new co-host, and Hunter's going on to do his own thing. And from what they said, that they do expect him to still be kind of part of the show here and there and on, like, every other episode or every once in a while or something. Benny and Bracken seem to have a more serious, they're still joking around and stuff, but more serious, and they're more focused for sure. But so Hunter coming back in every once in a while to liven it back up will probably be very welcomed. But what they're doing so far is good. They've got some good conversation going. Now Hunter, who the same person that we've seen do an open fit, T-30
Mm-hmm.
open fit, leading some workouts, has also on this new show coming out called The $1 Million Mile. Yep. Have you seen this?
I saw that. I saw their cast that was announced. I think it was yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, the cast is 10 people who are the defenders in this show. And for those who haven't seen it, the premise of the show is it's a 1 mile obstacle course, which has some crazy stuff in it. Like, there's even swimming and there's some rappelling involved. Like, there's some crazy stuff. Looks like a lot of rigs and all kinds of God knows what. But the contestants get a 2-minute head start. And then the pro or the defender chases off after them and tries to finish the obstacle course first. So if they can beat the defender, then they get $1 million, I guess. I don't know exactly what the rest of the details are behind it, but I think that's the premise of the show. And the 10 defenders that are out there, 8 of them are obstacle course racers, which is pretty freaking awesome. Like, it's all people that we've seen and know. You've got Hunter, Faye Stenning, VJ Jones, Rebecca Hammond, Orla Walsh.
Oh, Robert Killian, Isaiah Vidal.
Mm-hmm. And who's the last one? I mean, there's 2 other people, obviously, too, but out of the OCR people.
Well, I mean, Emma, she competed on TMX.
That's right.
She's a CrossFitter, but she competed at TMX, and I think she won.
Yes, CrossFitter / TMX champion from this past year, which is pretty cool. So I'm really looking forward to that show. Like, I've been watching. I catch clips of Ninja Warrior every once in a while. I watched the Ultimate Beastmaster, which was pretty good. Titan Games is kind of weird, but still fun to watch. This one being a full on, like, this is an obstacle course. Like, this is straight up obstacle course television.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that this isn't going to be let's show everybody sob stories. Let's just see some contestants go after it, man, because we've got some great pros to see and watch.
It almost kind of reminds me of American Gladiator, but they're competing on an obstacle course. Yeah,
and it doesn't seem like they're not doing any, like, competing
against each other.
Physical against each other. No. I don't think. I think in American Gladiator, the last part of the competition was a head-to-head obstacle course against the two contestants, like, that made it to the end, I guess. So it's kind of like that, but you got an American Gladiator chasing you after you've had a head start.
I used to love that show. My favorite one was like the gun where you had to, like, shoot at the target or whatever, and then they had they had one of the gladiators, like, shooting back at you.
Yeah, they run back and forth between the stations. Yeah, that was pretty neat. Great Nintendo game. I don't know if you ever played that one.
I always just wanted to be on the show.
But you actually get to do that kind of stuff in the Nintendo game. That's pretty neat. So I was thinking about this with a 2-minute head start. Now, obviously, there's probably a lot to this obstacle course. And like we said, you got swimming and stuff as well. But just think about this. If you went against Faye Stenning, who can probably run, a 5-minute mile? Maybe even faster than that? I don't know. Like, what's your fastest mile time that you know of?
6:40 something.
All right, so you can run under a 7-minute mile. Let's say, I don't know what Faye's fastest mile is, but let's say she can run a 5-minute. It's probably faster than that, but maybe a 5-minute mile. You've got a 2-minute head start. You could, in a head-to-head, you could potentially win with a 2-minute head start in a mile. That's a lot of time.
But that's a mile that's full of, like, different challenges, like obstacles.
Exactly, and I think that's going to be the real test for these people. Right. Like, the people in the show that are going on there probably are decent athletes, so they more than likely they can run a faster mile than me or you, who can run, like, saying that I can run a sub 7-minute mile is decent. It's not anything amazing, but it's like, any normal person I tell that to, they're like, wow, that's really good. I'm like, no, it's not. But these people more than likely can, I would dare to say, they could probably run, a 6-minute mile or something like that, or maybe even I don't know about 5, but I don't know. That I would like to know that before these people go into it. Their mile is this time, and their defender's mile is this time, or something like that. That'd be cool. But yeah, the obstacles are going to be where it really falls down. You're going to have these defenders, and it makes me wonder: do the defenders, have they gotten a chance to go through the course? Do the contestants, do they know these obstacles? Because when you go into something that you don't know already and you're learning how to do it on the fly, that makes a big difference too. And that's where an obstacle course racer has the biggest advantage, because we know we've practiced adapting and doing something new that we've never done before.
Just little things that can shave off even just a few seconds.
So that's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for that one.
Speaking of mile times, I think I saw you had commented on Johnny Manziel's wife setting a world record pace during her half marathon.
Yes. What was the deal with
I don't know.
That?
From what I could gather from the story, because I've read a couple different posts and stories about it, she was running a half marathon, and it was one of those for-profit organizations, but I think they partner with charity. I don't know. She ran a half marathon, and I believe maybe the course was not clearly marked, or maybe there was some course cutting going on. Her last half of her half marathon, she was running like a 4-minute pace.
Yeah, and to say here's look, if you accidentally cut the course or did it on purpose, who cares? And
Yeah,
you got
just say it.
yeah, when your first half of a marathon is about a 9:30-minute mile, and then your second half is 4-minute miles, like faster than the fastest woman has ever run a mile.
Yeah.
And you deny, like, that's the crazy part about this, is that she denies that she cut the course or whatever.
Right.
Like, are you insane? You're an insane person?
I really think that maybe she's just that stupid. Like,
either that stupid or that hard-headed that she doesn't want to admit.
I really don't mean to be like so ugly or
like,
or
does
mean
she just
about
not
it,
realize?
but,
Maybe.
I mean, I really think maybe she just does not know that she cut 4.5 miles or whatever off the course.
Yeah,
I think
that is funny.
Is what it sounds like to me. Don't defend it and act like you can.
Yeah, and that's all hearsay through articles that we've seen. But
right.
that's what the articles have said, that people have approached her and said, "Hey, you cut the course or something," and she's saying, "No, I didn't." And it's like, well, you're a lunatic.
Yeah. Which I can understand if she doesn't know that she cut the course because maybe it wasn't intentional, then, she doesn't know. But if they tell her, well, hey, look at your times, it doesn't make any sense, then maybe, she should be like, oh, well, maybe there was some course markings that I missed or something like that.
Yeah. And article wise, somebody could have heard her say, no, I didn't, out of context, and it got written like that. But there is a site called marathoncheating.com or something like that. So, and it's a person who investigates that stuff. And so, like, that they've tried reaching out to her, or maybe they didn't get anything back. I don't know.
Yeah, and the guy put up $10,000 of his own money to just so she could. I think the stipulations were that he got a cashier's check for $10,000 and said, "Look, I'm going to give this money to the charity of your choice if you can run a sub 6-minute mile or something like that. But the mile has to be done on a track, and there has to be people there videoing it, and everything like that." So, and apparently she hasn't responded. So,
yeah, I'm sure.
But I mean, whatever. I just thought it was an interesting story.
Yeah,
that's the only time I've heard Johnny Manziel's name in the news in the last 3-4 years.
We need to wrap this up. Let's save the shoes conversation for next time. We do have to give away some socks, and we need a way for people to enter in to be in the giveaway. I need to get the socks still, but I've got a place to get them from. And how are we going to give them away? What are we going to do? What do we want people to do to get some socks? We had haikus last time.
I'm going to think of a number between.
That's ridiculous, but we're going to go with it. In the theme of what we just talked about, we're going to think of a number between 1 and a million.
1 in a million number.
1 in $1 million miles. Wait. A number in between 1 and a million.
And the person who gets closest wins the socks.
Closest person wins, high or low.
Closest person wins, high or low.
How will they get that number to us? You only get one entry.
Yeah, one entry per person, because I hate it whenever they have those Instagram giveaways and I end up getting tagged in like billions of stuff.
Yeah, we don't want you to tag people. That's lame.
No, that's spammy.
Send in a
one
message
entry per person. Yeah, send us a message.
It's got to be a message on Instagram
or Facebook.
Or email at ocrtalk@gmail.com.
Yes.
So OCR Talk, Facebook, Instagram, or email at Gmail. Send us a message with your guess, and while you're there. If you want to say something nice, feel free. Or something bad. If you want to say something bad, feel free too. And then next time we record, we will do another spinny wheel and see how it goes.
And maybe it won't take us an hour and a half to get to it.
I don't know. That episode got good listens, good downloads. Might have to do it.
You just never know when we're going to drop an episode like that again.
All right, it's getting late. Let's call this a thing.
Yeah, because clearly my dog has been asleep for like the last hour.
I cannot promise that some of his snores will not make it into the show because he's been snoring the entire time. At some point, it sounded like a tune, like he was like. Now it's getting louder.
It is, because he knows we're talking about him.
All right, go drink your Perform Elite. Send us a number. Follow, listen, and talk. What else?
I don't know. I got nothing.
Okay, well that's it. We will get you. Well, I don't know. I don't have anything good to say. We'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all. Happy Mardi Gras. Yeah.
Declan, you want to say hello?
No.
Bye.